Okay, I'm here with my buddies. This is, well, that was Zeppelin and Zeppy, and this is Miss Juno, and this is their roadmap to success. So we started off the session by talking about using the marker word. The marker word that we've elected to use for these dogs is thanks. Now, when you're saying it, make sure you don't say thanks or thanks. There was a little bit of inflection that you guys are doing, which is normal when you're excited. But later on, we're just going to say thanks, and it sounds like dogs hear inflection, so it'd be like two different words. Thanks, that's celebrating. We'll talk about that in a sec. All right, so we did a loading exercise. By the time you see this, you should have already done this, but if not, walk around your house, say thanks, give them a treat. Take a couple steps, thanks, give them a treat. They don't have to do anything, and our job is to put the treat in their mouth within 2 seconds of saying the word thanks. Don't say thanks as you give the treat, thanks, then give the treat. You want to do this throughout your house. I usually, for the loading exercise, do about 15 treats with each dog about 6 times. Doing it in every room, in every place in the house. Do it inside, you don't have to worry about doing it outside. Your test is when I say thanks, the dogs snap and look at me. If not, then keep on practicing the loading exercise, about 15 to 20 treats, walk around the house. Thanks, treat. Okay, we also went over hand targeting as a vehicle to practice using the marker word. And thank you, even though it's thanks. And well, so you have good timing. So remember, your marker word comes the instant the dog does the thing that we want, not when we give the treat. And a lot of that was going on. Now, if I don't have the video for marker words linked on this, let me know and I can link it up here. I can send it to you directly. Hand targeting, keep on practicing that. I have a video for that. If I don't link, let me know about that one. You want to be able to get the dogs to come from about your window to here for about 15 feet away, touching their nose to your treat on cue. Now, the cue the dog guardians decided to use here is touch, and you can use any cue you want. But remember the 4 components: the cue, the action, the marker word, and the reward. So the cue, sit. The action, the dog sitting. The marker word, thanks, and then rewarding the dog with a pet or a treat. But when we're teaching a dog out of those 4 steps, the first one comes last. We just lure the dog and say the marker word until it becomes easy to lure the dog. Then we say the cue, lure them, mark, and reward. So if you have to say the cue more than once, you probably haven't taught the dog properly, sufficiently. And also keep in mind that a lot of us, we are teaching the dog with a gesture, and we think that they learn the verbal cue because we're saying it at the same time, but if we say the verbal cue without the gesture, they don't do it. The way to prove that is if I would say, if she was standing, I would say, sit, and then turn away so she can't see my lips. If she does it, then I mark and reward and know that she has that. If she doesn't, then she probably needs to work on it. Now, the way I teach that, if I'm teaching sit, I lure the dog into a sit, say yes and give a treat, take a step away so the dog gets up, lure it again. Do that 3 or 4 or 8, how many times until it's easy. Every time I lure, the dog goes right into a sit. Then I would say sit, lure, mark, and reward. So remember, when you're saying the cue, it comes before all the action. Don't say touch, say touch, then chop. So I keep them separated. That segmentation is really important and something that a lot of people kind of get sloppy with and combine, and it confuses the dogs. All right, we also went over the celebrate game. A lot of dog trainers call this capturing, but I don't personally want to be captured, but I do like being celebrated, and I think the words that we use matter. So celebrating is every time the dog offers a desirable behavior on its own without us asking for it, we say the marker and reward them. Sitting, coming to us, laying down, going to the dog bed, giving us eye contact. You do it for drinking water, pooping, dropping an object, picking an object up, anything that's desirable. And if you notice, I keep on saying desirable versus undesirable. A lot of us say dog is naughty or good and bad. When a dog does an undesirable behavior, there is no morality to it. But when we say bad, we are adding morality to it. Dog jumps up because that's what they normally do, and that's what they're excited and all that fun stuff. So try to think about it that way, because your dogs are not doing things to be personal or to make us unhappy. They're very genuine, super genuine about what they want. So the celebrate game is if the dog does something we want, we say the marker word within 2 seconds of them doing it, and we pet them in this oval area. If I'm sitting here, like this is a good example. So somebody could say celebrate. I would say thanks. I missed that Zeppelin was approaching. So if somebody says celebrate, that's just a cue to me to remember, hey, I should reward Zeppelin for doing something. So that's celebrating. And so say celebrate to each other. The other side of the coin is teaching the dogs manners. Both of these dogs like to nudge and paw for attention. Part of the reason probably because lack of puppy classes here, but also because the guardians taught shake. It's the first thing everybody teaches a dog. It should be probably one of the last things you teach your dog, but it works. So if the dog paws at you, what I'd like you to do is have the dog do a desired behavior. So pawing me, down, thanks, and then I can reward the dog. If I say down or sit, and the dog, provided the dog knows how to do the cue. If I say sit and the dog does not sit or offers a down or something else, I'm not going to reward. So rewarding your dog, when you ask for sit and the dog lays down, you reward it, you confuse the dog. So I celebrate at all times unless I'm teaching a specific thing. If I'm teaching my dog a down and it offers a sit, I'm not going to reward it because that's not what I'm trying to achieve, and I want the dog to understand what I want. Now, yes. All right, I'm having other thoughts of other stuff we talked about. So that's celebrating, and manners is if the dog's pawing at you, you're going to tell them to sit or lay down. So basically, when the dog sits or lays down, somebody should be giving them some pets and some attention. After a while, the dog will start sitting to ask for that, because when I sit, you give me attention. If I nudge you and you tell me to sit. I get attention. That was great.
Good.
Guardian
Thanks.
just did a wonderful job right there. All right. And so, what I was just also thinking about right there is Juno's kind of the more mellow dog. Zepp he's Zeppelin. And so basically when Juno has a ball or a toy or something like that, sometimes Zepp will, I call it sharking, circle, bark. I want that. Not giving dogs attention is akin to saying I'm okay with what you're doing. And so if Juno's has a bone and Zepp is circling her, he's trying to intimidate her a little bit and give her a bone, and she's being a little bit annoyed. I want us to be the guardians and intercede for that. So I might take Zeppelin out for a short walk. I might play a little tug of war. I might do some training. I might just take him in the other room or put her in a room by herself so she doesn't have to deal with it. The more that we handle that situation, they're not practiced doing that on their own. Let me see. And the other thing you do is a couple other things on that same subject. I talked about using a tether. So if you take a leash and run it around the leg of a couch and run it through the handle of the leash, thanks. Then we have like an 6 foot, however long the leash is. The dog can be in this area. And I would just do it for Zepp. She can go wherever she wants because she's not the one trying to take his stuff. If he starts chewing the leash, get a chain leash. He's trying to get himself free. And so you can also get lick mats, which would be something that I would recommend you get and get him used to just for when mom comes over. Put one lick mat over here and one way over there. So if he wants to go lick on her lick mat, he's abandoning his, and then she can come over to his. You can also do the same thing with like bully sticks. If you get a bully stick, drill a hole through one end of the bully stick and zip tie it loosely to a dumbbell that you put over here. Zeppelin can't take it with because it's tethered here. And then she can have one tethered over there. So this way we're helping them practice. Now when it comes to dog behavior, what we want the dogs to do is block them from doing the unwanted behavior for about 3 months while we help them practice the desired behavior for 3 months. So for 3 months, we start giving them objects together, but separately through one of these mechanisms I just described. Now Zeppelin is out of a habit of going over and trying to take her stuff. Now, coveting material is stuff that all dogs do. They want the other dog, even though it has the same thing that they've got. But that's just a normal thing. But if we block them from doing it, we can make it far less prominent. Okay, we also talked about exercise. Now, I think especially in Zeppelin's case, he's got a lot of energy. He has more energy than Juno does. He needs more exercise. I would try to set a goal for maybe him getting 1 or 2 more exercise and 1 or 2 more mental stimulations a day than Juno gets. Maybe we do an extra training session with him than she gets. Training is something I forget to mention for mental stimulation. Training is a wonderful way to burn energy. Now keep training it to 2 or 3 minute training sessions. But I mean, the dogs right here, we've been working for 3 hours and we haven't been working with the dogs the whole time, but they're exhausted. So if you practice like 3, each one of you picks, 1 or 2 exercises and you practice each one of you 3 times a day with one dog. Now the dogs have 6 different practice sessions that only take 3 minutes each. Doesn't take a lot of time for you. It makes a profound difference. Now, before we get back to, while I'm thinking about it, I'll come back to exercise. So the Guardians right now feed out of a puzzle toy. Slow feeder is what they're called. And they leave the food out. So what I'd recommend is they switch over to a regular bowl, put the food down, eat a cracker or chip or something themselves because a lot of dogs are social eaters. And while the dog's there looking at it, they can take as long to eat as they want. But as soon as they walk away, I pick the bowl, I dump it empty, and I put the empty bowl back down. So I want them to recognize that bowl is empty every time I walk by and get a drink of water. Then later on, when there's food there, holy cow, I'm going to eat. It'll take about 2 or 3 days for them to get a habit of doing it because they're not used to doing this. But eventually hunger becomes your ally. Do not feed them extra stuff if they miss a meal. If they miss a meal, that's okay. Neither one of your dogs are emaciated. And after a while, skipping that meal will make them more likely to want to eat the next meal. It is not ethical to withhold food to train a dog, but if I'm presenting the food to a dog and it walks away and I dump it, I'm doing the same thing that happens in nature. So I have no problems with that because some other animal is going to take that food if they leave it alone. Once you've gotten the dogs to eat all their food when you put the food down, a lot of times, kind of the exercise you're showing me here with the weight, my dog's words to eat are grub and lasagna. And the way I do that is I say lasagna, and the dog comes over and eats its food. And so I say butts, butts, butts. My dogs sit in their butt in the corner. I put the food in the bowls, and I walk away. And I yell grub from the other room. Callie comes and eats her food. Sometimes I forget to feed Quest. I go to the kitchen 2 hours later because I got a phone call. He's sitting there 10 feet away from his bowl waiting for permission. That is a wonderful way to develop some impulse control. Now, I don't want to do that intentionally. I give him some extra, so don't make your dog wait for that long. So once you've gotten them to the point where they're eating out of their bowls, I would switch over to the snuffle mat. I like the one from Runda. It's either RHUNDA or RUNDA. And basically, I flip it over so all the tassels are kind of going down, then I flip it back up, and I waterfall the food so the kibble falls into the cracks. Now it has to use its nose to smell it. I was getting to that part next. And then lick it up. And they have to repeat this. Positive eruptor. Look at that. I love the Guardians. He did a great job right there. And so we'll talk about the positive eruptor in a minute. But basically, feeding out of a snuffle mat is like a short walk for your dogs. If you're feeding your dogs twice a day, it's 2 short walks that we can give our dogs. Now, I might also get the Omega Paw Tricky Treat Ball for him. He's probably more, I'm guessing he's more jumpy than she is. Is that correct?
Thank you.
So, that may be something when when mom comes over, we're going to maybe give him one of those. Or maybe give both of them. Instead of jumping, I jump up on you, Mom, but I got to nudge this thing around like a little soccer player. Lick mats are also a nice thing to get and use. Leave it right there in case you need it again. Lick mats are a nice thing to use when to keep them be settled because there's a target. Now, I'd get them to use a lick mat a couple times first before mom comes over, and then start doing exercise them and have the lick mats. And after a while, you can freeze the lick mats. It makes it harder and longer for that to come out. You can also use Kongs filled with peanut butter, and eventually you can freeze the Kongs as well. But licking and chewing release the feel-good endorphins. Now, I like getting, I get them from bestbully.com, but you can get them a lot of different places. I would get yourself some odor-free bully sticks. I would get yourself some collagen sticks. Never give your dogs raw hides or soaked in formaldehyde, bleach, and ammonia, and they often get stuck. I'd also, my dog's favorite one of my favorites are cow kneecaps. You can order them on Amazon. You can get them at high-end pet stores. They'll chew all the flesh off the first time, and then they come back and gnaw on the cartilage. Eventually, you get a bone that's really porous, about that big. Then you throw it away. But until then, they're just chew, 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 chew. And it's a nice thing for them to have to do. So the video, we didn't talk about it, but when mom comes over, I would set the dogs up for success, getting back to exercise, by taking them out for a walk, getting some exercise first. Now, he probably needs twice as much exercise as she does. So I would do a two-time loop. I would do one loop with both dogs, then come back, drop Juno off, and walk him for the next loop. The Guardian here knows to let the dog sniff. That's a great way to burn energy. Now, when she's walking by a house, there's a couple of houses where there are dogs that like to bark or whatever the case may be. I would do I call it the find it game, but they use the word hunt. So to show them they have a treat, you want to start doing this before we get to the area where the dog is. So I'm just saying hunt, find it, and he gets it, hunt, find it. As soon as he gets it, I'm saying hunt and find it. So I'm tossing about 2 feet away as I'm walking up there. He lurches and gets it. By the time he gets it, I show him another one. You want to go bang, bang, bang. We want to deliver the treat so fast, he doesn't get a chance to actually bark at the other dog because he's more worried about getting the next treat on the ground. And maybe it takes 8 treats at first, but eventually it can be 7 treats, 6 treats, 5 treats. Eventually you pass the house and then they get a treat afterwards. Now, if your dog is reactive, the very best thing to do is always to increase distance. Sometimes you have to walk around a car or a shrubbery or something like that to stop them from doing that. Use the treats right there if you want. Zepp is pawing at his mom for attention and she's trying to get him to do a down. He doesn't have a great down yet. And so training is a great way to burn energy. And she's doing the magic rubber band, the invisible rubber band. So I'm trying to lure a dog to get it down. I'm going to lure. As soon as the dog stops tracking, I go back. It's like the rubber band pulls it back. So always try to keep that treat within an inch of the nose. And so one of the things I'd like the guardians to do is I'm going to get don't let me leave without giving you a clicker, but get a clicker, walk around the house with one dog, sit, click, treat, take a couple steps down, click, treat. Or just teach it first. And if you need a video to teach it to sit up and down, stand, let me know. I've got a video for that one too. But if you walk around the house practicing sit, click, treat, stand, click, treat, touch, click, treat, down, click, treat, now the dog's just waiting for you to give the next cue. You're practicing a little basic obedience and help the dog practice doing things for you to get something for me. And that's a great dynamic to develop. Now, is it wrong to pet your dogs for no reason? Absolutely not. But whatever your dog was doing right before you pet them is what you are reinforcing. So right there, Zeppelin came up to me, I petted him. I'm reinforcing his recall. I should have said the marker word there. But if you just want to pet your dog for no reason, just don't say your marker word and pet him as much or as little as you want. But if your dog is doing something you don't want before you pet it, you are kind of rewarding it. Now remember, all attention is rewarding as well. So if you say no, that's kind of like giving your dog a treat. Now we went over the pause interrupter. The pause interrupter is when the dog is about to get into trouble, you go, boop. They don't have a good touch yet. Yes. Oh, your word is thanks. And it's a good thing I said yes. So basically you want to cultivate that strong hand targeting first. Then when the dog sees somebody out the window but hasn't barked yet, you make the kissing sound. They look at you to see what that is. Then we say touch, and the dog runs over and touches his nose or my hand. Then I'm going to give it a carrot. I'm going to give it a lick mat. Thanks. I'm going to do some training. I'm going to do some tug of war, whatever else it is. All right, getting back to exercise, walking with a dog backpack with carrying a bottle of water or some sand or something like that. Don't make it so heavy that it's debilitating for them, but having them carry some extra weight makes the walk more efficient. Letting them sniff is a great way to burn energy and make the walk more enjoyable. Other forms of exercise can include fetch, tug of war. You can use a flirt pole if dogs like that. And for these dogs, since they're not big fetchers, you can just show them you have a treat and say fetch, throw the treat, or on this one I'd probably just say hunt for that and throw the treat. Now, if I want to teach a dog fetch, what I usually do is wait for the dog to want to be into the ball. Then I go to a small area where I can bounce that ball, and the dog goes over to the ball and picks it up. I say thanks and pet it a little bit. And at first I'm just marking the dog going to the ball. Then eventually I'm marking the dog going over and picking up the ball. Then I'm marking when the dog gets the ball and brings it back to me. I hold the treat up. When it drops the ball, I say thanks, put it in its mouth. Then I pick it up. And eventually I would say sit, build in a little impulse control. The dog sits. I say thanks. Fetch as I throw the ball. Remember, the cue comes first. Dog runs and gets it, brings it back to you, drops the ball. You say thanks and put a treat in their mouth. Fetch is a wonderful way to burn energy, but not all dogs have it. These dogs don't have it, but this is a way that you can actually teach them to do that. Let me see. There's also, do you have any stairs? Now, this is something you should not do on a regular basis, but let's say mom's coming over and you don't have enough time to take it for a walk. Doggy Stairmaster. Go to the top of the stairs, show him you have a treat, throw a treat at the bottom of the stairs, runs down, gets it, comes all the way back up. You say thanks, throw another treat. So each down up is one. And I usually have cues for this. So I would say like Jamaica as I throw it and they go down, or Mexico. And Mexico, wherever the city is you're going to. Manzanillo runs down there, thanks. And then Vale runs up, thanks, and give them a treat. So now Vale or Aspen means go up the stairs. Mazatlan or whatever the word is means go down the stairs. So that's a great way to burn energy, but that is a repetitive activity and that can be damaging for the joints. So I would use that as kind of your backup in your emergency. Also, before I forget, dogs have what's called a distended stomach. They should not do exercise like I just described with food in their stomach. It can actually flip the stomach, pressurize, and explode. It can be fatal. So dogs generally shouldn't do a lot of strenuous activity, especially barrel-chested dogs, till about an hour after they've eaten their meal. So I just kind of feed them after the walk if you can. Walking is okay, but it's a lot of lateral movement that can get them in a little trouble. Okay, there's also mental stimulation. We went over cookie in the corner. That's where we throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got a video for that. I've got it linked up. Let me know. You are saying hunt. So hunt, throw one treat. The dog licks it up. Thanks. And then say come. The dog comes to you. Say thanks and give him a treat. And then you throw 2 treats. Work your way up to 7. And eventually you can leave the treats in that area and just point and say it. And your dog goes over and starts sniffing the ground. Google scent games, find 3 or 4 other scent games that you can practice in-house, and keep an eye out, what are some scent games that mom can practice with the dogs? I want the dogs to practice listening to her. So that might be something you might have the dogs, you exercise them first. We do the exercise above, so we teach the dogs to be calm at the door. Mom comes in, it's safe, and then maybe we walk around the house, and mom maybe says sit, they sit, you say thanks and give them a treat, and they're on a leash. So if she tries to jump up, or he does, you can prevent and keep mom, and then mom and you walk a couple steps, and she says down, and they down, thanks, and then mom gives a treat. So let's have the dogs practice listening to mom and being rewarded for mom, as opposed to jumping up on mom to get attention from mom's kids. Well, one of mom's kids, kid-in-law. Yes. All right. So training is a great way to drain energy. So 3-minute training sessions. Try to give yourself a goal. Each one of us is going to train one dog. We're going to teach one dog one exercise 3 times a day, and I'm going to teach the other dog one exercise 3 times a day, and you're both doing the same thing. So basically, the dogs are now getting 12 practice sessions throughout the day, or 3, 6, yeah. Math is not my strong suit. But basically, they're practicing listening to us and being rewarded for desirable actions, which will make them more likely to offer those particular behaviors as opposed to other things. Now, let me see. So set games is a great way to do that. And the snuffle mat is a great way to do that as well. I'm trying to think. There was another one that I'll think of it later on. So it's exercise. Now we also would like the dogs to practice some impulse control, and I like to do these things through exercises that require that, like teaching the dog to stay at the kind of have a little bit of the video above, but also things like sitting before you start preparing my food, sitting before you put the harness on me, sitting, and I'm saying sitting for all these things. It can mean other things too. It just for dogs it works out. Sitting is really easy. Do dogs like having the harness put on? Do they turn away? They often get cutoff signals.
Zeppy does, Juno doesn't.
So can you hand me that harness?
This one that we have.
The blue one, yep. Yeah.
I'm gonna get
No,
open it.
no, that's fine. I can do it. I don't want to keep making the video too long. So basically, all you got to do is they're going to put their head through here. So what I do is I have a treat. I stick my hand through. The dog gets it. Eventually, I'm holding the treat in the opening this way, and the dog's putting its nose through. I guess it's going this way. So you're going to hold it. So the dog's eventually going to come and put its nose through the harness on its own. So you're learning. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not. I'm not doing a great job of demonstrating. Yeah. Now, a lot of dogs get overexcited when we put the leash on or we put the harness on, because that's classical conditioning. You only put the harness on before we go out on an adventure. So I start going bananas. Practice leashing your dog up when you're not going for a walk. It's called desensitization. It is not mean. It helps your dog learn and practice being calm. So sometimes you put it on and then we hang out for a little bit and take it off. And if you want, you can say uniform, then put it on the dog, snap everything up, thanks, and give it a treat afterwards. I am in a habit of giving my dogs a treat before after I put a harness or collar on, and after I attach the leash every time. So the dog's not excited for that harness going on, so we're going to the next one. They're waiting for me to put it on so they get a treat afterwards. So I'm helping them emulate a little calmer behavior. Okay. I'm trying to think what else. Is there anything else I covered that you want me to go over? I think this is a pretty good synopsis, but there might be something else.
It's our roadmap to success.
Yes.
Roadmap to Zeppy success.
I know I can text you.
You can text me anytime you have questions. This is the mini treat pouch from PetSafe. They make a larger one with different colors. I like the mini one. Get one of these.
From where?
From PetSafe. You can get them on Amazon. And when I'm on a walk, especially with Zeppy, have a treat in your hand. So every time a Zeppy looks at you, you're just going to say thanks and hold the treat out. Zeppy's going to come back to you, get that treat, pull out another one, and he's walking. Your goal is every couple steps, Zeppy's checking in with you. Yep, he's coming back to you. Most of the times, dogs are pulling away from us because that's where the reward is, and that's the practice they have. And when we pull them back, and that causes them to pull again because the opposition response. So just having a treat in your hand, every time it looks at you, you say thanks and hold it out. The dog is now practicing coming back to you. You are more, I would say, powerful, but you're more valuable, and the dog's more likely to do that particular behavior. Now, if you do want to set up a session to work on loose leash walking or a series of sessions, let me know. We can kind of go over that. But right now, what I'd like you guys to do is watch this video once a week until when you watch this video, there's nothing in it that is new that you haven't adopted. If at that point you're still having some problems with the behavior, let me know, and I can set up another session, or if you want to work with loose leash walking. Now, Zeppy is over there. He's looking at me, but he's laying down. I think Dad's petting him, so I'm going to have Dad stop real quick. Okay, so I have a treat in my hand. The lower I go, the more it's for the dog. Let's see if I can get him to come over. I didn't say anything. I just used emotion lure. So if you have to, when I lower my hand, I'm curling my fingers up so the dog can't see and my hand is empty. So sell it. Don't be like, that's not going to work. Up here, buddy. Come here, sweetie. Come on. You got to go all the way up. There you go. All right. How about you, Zepp? Can you come up here? All the way. Get it, Zeppy. There we go. Well, this is my buddy Zepp. And this is my buddy Juno. Yeah, you get a treat too, sweetie. And this is their roadmap to success. Remember, when it comes to dogs, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it. Thank you.